Introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you. So let me introduce myself. My name is Aleksandra, and I'm originally from Ukraine, Kiev. I live here and I work here. I graduated from Kiev National Linguistic University in 2010 with a master's degree in translation and interpretation. And I had been working as an interpreter, and I had visited countries like Sweden, Denmark, France, Luxembourg, and the United States of America, where I participated in the Servant Leadership Academy in 2009, where I met Marshall Christensen, who was my mentor, teacher, and a good friend.
Okay, great. And now, please tell us a little bit about your organization and the place where you work, and also about mission, vision, or values of your organization. This organization.
Okay, so I teach English as a second language to the students primarily in Ukraine. However, I have students in other countries like Hungary, Brazil, Spain, Israel, Canada, and the United States of America. So I also teach Russian to Canadians and Americans. That's what I do. And the mission is to uncover the students' potential by means of English and by means of teaching English, and so that they will meet their dreams.
Okay, that's great. And do you have a name of your, like, it's like a course, English course, or like it's your English course, right? Without name, just English.
So I'm a tutor. I'm an independent freelance tutor, and I also have a YouTube channel where I post videos, and I have 3 different categories there. The first one is English for a new generation of leaders, or English for angels. The second one is English with the Callan method, and the third one is Servant Leadership Academy, Granddad Stories for Future Leaders, where I uncover and tell about the values and servant leadership principles there.
Okay, great. Okay, next question. Do you see yourself as a servant leader? As a leader that wants to serve people's needs, and if you can give us some examples, it would be great. And do you let it be for now? Yeah. There will be a second part of this question.
Okay, yeah, so I see myself as a servant leader. And the reason I identify that specific word is that I believe that the first important thing is my relationship with the Lord, and second of all, my relationship with my students and with people around me. That's what I do. This is number one, and how I do that by 4 steps. The first one is knowledge. The second one is understanding, then discernment and wisdom. So these 4 help me to communicate with my students and with people generally.
Can you explain more about these 4 steps?
Sure. So the first one is knowledge. We gain knowledge from the books, from different resources, textbooks, and as far as I'm a teacher and a tutor for my students, I help them gain this knowledge and they can learn English better to achieve their goals. The second one is understanding. Being a teacher requires being an understanding person, because there are different situations. A lot of life situations happen, and a person has to be understanding to feel assertive, to be in other person's shoes. And the third one is discernment, when I can identify which is good and which is bad, which really helps me find my people so that I have my values, and then I can see my students' values, so that's how we match. And the fourth one is wisdom, and wisdom comes with experience. And I'm a life learner, so I gain experience with practice. That's how I see myself, as a life learner. that's how I gain wisdom.
Okay, great. On the second part of this big long question, how do you use servant leadership principles in your everyday life, and particularly in your work?
Okay, so over here I would like to say and to mention one of my favorite book written by John Wooden. It's A Journey to Success, and I'd like to show it to you right now. Okay. So this book is written by Coach John Wooden, Ancient Miles, The Journey to Success, which talks about the 14 major principles, which I also implement in my teaching. And he talks about the pyramid of success, which I also practice with my students, and we learn and discover these 14 principles and values that lead to a personal best, that basically lead to success. And those are hard work, friendship, loyalty, cooperation, enthusiasm, self-control, alertness, action, determination, fitness, skill, team spirit, poise, which is balance, confidence, and all of that leads to personal best. And a lot of students ask me, what is success? Because they want to be successful in learning English. And when we learn and when we read this book, I help them identify success using the words written by Dr. John Wooden, by Coach John Wooden, which is success isn't having trophies or toys, it isn't a medal or friends of your choice. What is success? That's easy to see. It's trying to be the best you can be. Don't worry what others may have or might say. When trying your best, success comes your way. So that's what we are talking about. Just being yourself.
Okay, so you...
Стоп. Можна продовжити? Покажіть, будь ласка, книжку.
Дитяча книжка, да? Це?
Так.
Прикольно.
А можна я ще її відкрию?
І зараз я це зніму, потім відкрити на ту сторінку, де відкривала. І ту сторінку, де відкривала.
Угу.
Так, все.
Угу. Дякую.
And...
Можна.
So in your everyday life, you implement this, like all these categories, all these things,
Values.
14 values, right?
Right.
And so, like for you, it's like a part of servant leadership principles, right? And you try to implement all these things, and by teaching the kids too, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. So I teach both kids and adults, and we read books like that, and well, we read different materials, and I try to study and learn at the same time. So it's common work.
Okay, great. And
Оленко, можна?
Да.
А може можна спонжик достати і ще.
Так, звичайно.
Тут, дивіться, тут і отут.
Угу. Угу.
Ні, там все нормально.
Блиск просто.
Тут ближче йде. Оце і отут. Все, нормально.
Угу. Дякую.
That's okay. Next question. In your case, what do you see as your client's highest priority needs right now, and how are you working to meet these needs?
That's a wonderful question. So obviously my clients' needs, well, I don't call them clients, I call them students. So my students' needs are, well, the first one is to learn English, to master it successfully. And the second one is mostly about motivation. So I help them learn English by accomplishing the 4 skills, which is writing, reading, listening, and speaking. And in terms of motivation, we just talk. And I try to understand them. I try to ask them as much questions, I try to ask them as many questions as I can. And so that's how we communicate, and that's how we identify their needs.
Okay. And how do you like your students help them grow and as a professional, as a person, and become maybe healthier, or like, I don't know, more like mentally more you understand?
Okay. So the major principle that I have in my life is, in my life and my, just a minute, one more time. So the major principle that I'm applying into my life and my work is the following: slow and steady wins the race. And this comes from the parable about the hare and the tortoise. So let me read that parable. Thank you. Okay. It'll take 1 minute. One time, a hare said to the other animals, "I can beat anybody in a race. I can run like the wind. Who will dare to race with me?" The animals didn't say anything because they were afraid that the hare would beat them. But then the tortoise said quietly, "I'll run a race with you." "That's a good joke," laughed the hare. "Why will I be out of sight before you get started?" "Wait until you have won the race before you say anything," said the tortoise. "Shall we race?" The hare agreed. They chose the starting place and the goal. The race began. As soon as the hare was far ahead of the tortoise, the hare ran so fast that he became tired very quickly. He stopped by the side of the road and lay down to take a nap. He was sure that he would wake up in time to beat the tortoise. The tortoise plodded slowly on. When the hare woke up, the tortoise was near the goal. The hare jumped up and ran as fast as he could toward the goal line, but he was not in time. The tortoise crossed the goal line first and won the race. The tortoise turned to the other animals and said, "I learned long ago that if you do something steadily, you can often do it well, even if you're slow." So that's what I say to my students. Don't be afraid, even if you're slow. Even if I am slow in my teaching, sometimes it takes time to learn something and to comprehend new things. Despite all of that, despite all obstacles and odds, slow and steady wins the race. So that's what we do. If a person runs, if one runs and tries to win the race, so to say, he'll burn out. And I've experienced that in my life. I have that experience, so I know what I'm talking about. But then I realized that poise or balance is important, and that's what I'm trying to work on right now and tell to my students little by little, step by step. Don't try to accomplish everything overnight. It won't happen. Try to make your progress step by step. Then you will win the race.
So you try not just only teach English to do your job like as a teacher, but you try to like show them some examples, some models that they can use in their like different spheres in their lives. Am I right? Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So students are looking not only for an English class or English classes, but they are also looking for support. And as a teacher or as a tutor or as a friend, you can help them. What works really well is telling them about my failures. They are so excited to hear about my failures. And believe it or not, I mean, of course, I have had a lot of failures in my life in terms of learning English and other spheres. But what is most important, the most important lesson that I've learned is about who you are when you fail. Are you going to stand up and just keep going? And if it's hard, and it is hard and it will be hard, but what defines you is just at that certain moment, just get up and keep going and everything will be okay. That really helps me, and I share these stories with them, and then they're like, oh, okay, everything's fine.
Okay, and talking about your students, how in general, how many of them you have, like all these kids and adults, and what is the age of the youngest student and maybe the oldest?
Yeah, sure. So I do have not many students. There are about 10 students of mine, and I have chosen this personal approach for the reason that I feel like I establish very good personal relationships with them, and this individual approach helps them learn and grow better because we can focus on their goals. And then I have about, so as I've said, I have about 10 students, and the youngest one is Paulina, and she's 5. She's the cutest one, and another one is Nika. She's so adorable. She's 9 years old, has a very good sense of humor. Then I have Alina, who is 14 years old, and I've been working with her since she was 1.5. And I have Alusha, who's 16 years old, and I've been working with him for more than 10 years. We started when he was about 5. And of course, my adults, my students, Canadian students who learn Russian, believe it or not, I don't know for sure how old those people are, but the lady, I believe she's in her 70s. Kind of, it's a little bit rude to ask their age, so I haven't asked that question, but I know that she's a grandma, and she's so willing to learn. She's diligent and she's eager to learn, and you can just tell this by the way she acts during her classes. She's willing to make mistakes, and she's willing to work on them and improve her skills.
That's great. So you're more about you try to build this relationship with your students and like work with them for a long time, not just change students year by year, right?
Actually, you'll find this interesting. I have never ever found a student. All of the students that I have, they just somehow came to me. I mean, it was working like the word of the mouth. I just received phone calls, and bang, I have my students. And so I have established very personal, trustworthy relationships with them all over these years. And there is a lot to learn. And I've found that it's not only about teaching, it's about very good friendship, wonderful relationships.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, our next question. Interesting actually question. Working mostly with people one-on-one, do you think about belonging to a professional community? Do you feel like you are creating such a community while working with other colleagues?
This is a wonderful question. I do feel the belonging to the community, to the teachers' community. for the reason that I've been working online since 2015, and since 2014 I've been mentored by my co-serve mentors and teachers and good friends, Jeff and Coralie Stevens, and alongside with Marshall Christensen and Debbie Vigil. And yes, I do feel this belonging for the reason that we meet on a we meet on a weekly basis, and we discuss the teachers' problems, the students' problems and issues that may occur, and we discuss and we talk about life principles and servant leadership principles and what person should be like and what is teacher's role, questions like that. So that helps me grow, and that helps me respect other teachers and support them if help is needed. I also have a person from Spain that's a girl. She used to be my student, but right now she's a teacher, and I helped her become one. 1 year ago, she asked me to help her to teach, and she knows Spanish very well, but she didn't know how to teach, and I helped her, and right now she's very successful. And she said that during this pandemic, she has this ability to work, and she has a baby, so she's very, very thankful.
Great, that's great actually. Okay, let's move on. And our next question, I don't know, how do you help your people to become wiser? Do you think we need to
Okay, yeah, well, that's a good one. How can I help people to become wiser? I believe just by modeling. That's a nice question. In order to help someone become something or someone, you have to be like that, right? So the answer would be, I'm not trying to help them become wiser. I just show them who I am, and I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and this is my calling. Teaching is my calling, and they see who I am, and they can ask me questions. If they ask me questions, I can answer. This is, by the way, another thing that I've learned. Don't ask until there is a question there. I mean, if a student asks me something, I can answer. So I'm very, very careful with, either giving advice or just saying something. I really like to listen. So the primary thing that I'm doing is I'm listening to a student. And then if there's a question, I answer that question.
Okay, interesting. And another question is this area. Do you think you help your students become more autonomous?
Autonomous? Autonomnими?
Да.
Okay, autonomous.
Maybe you in some areas you give them more responsibility, I don't know, or something.
Okay, that's a wonderful question for the reason that I have a student who has had her classes since 2015, and she's an adult, and so right now she's responsible in a way that she helps other students learn. She can give them English words, she can have a group on Telegram or on other messengers, and she can send different materials to them. So she's kind of responsible for her friends, because she was the first adult learner, and then her peers saw her progress and they followed her advice, and then they became students of mine. The other interesting thing is that now I found out a mentor for her, and her mentor is Irene, and so right now they can communicate with one another, with each other, which makes it even more unique. Like, she told me that she had found out a good friend.
Interesting, that's great. Okay, and do you think you help people to find their purpose in life?
Oh, I believe I have answered that question when I told you about a teacher or just a person from Spain.
Yeah.
So we can probably, I won't repeat myself.
If you're not talking about this teacher, maybe talking about kids, or do you think that you help them to understand who they want to be in the future, or
I definitely ask them questions, important life questions about their goals and who they want to become. And by reading different resources, books, textbooks, and important information, and asking them questions, these types of questions, they definitely, they don't know for sure, but they are about to discover.
Okay.
It's about asking the right questions.
Okay, yeah. Interesting. Okay, that's great. And how do you help your people to also become servants for others?
I believe that by showing my example, if I drink water, they see that I have a glass of water on my table or my desk, then they go and they have it. So it's like a parent, right? A child just follows his parent, looking at their habits. So I think they learn intuitively a lot, and by just seeing my example, what I'm doing. Oh, and yeah, they also see that I'm learning. I have a teacher too. So I meet with my teacher on a weekly basis, and I tell this to my students. I tell them that, guys, I improve my English speaking skills and my writing skills, my reading skills, and my listening skills. And I make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes, but I have a teacher as well. And then they're like, oh, she has a teacher as well. So she's a teacher and she has a teacher. That really, that helps them understand that I'm a life learner, and it's okay. It's okay to learn, no matter how old you are, no matter who you are. If you're willing to learn, just go for it.
Okay, great. So talking about purpose, so teaching is your calling, your purpose, right?
That's right.
Yeah, okay. And what was your way? Like, how do you understand that teaching is the thing that you need to do in your life?
It's a wonderful story, which happened in 2007. As I have said, I have a master's degree in translation and interpretation, but when I was a sophomore, my French teacher asked me to come over to her daughter's school and just as a substitute teacher, help there. And of course I did. I came there, and that was a private school, and I had an English class with two-year-old kids for the first time in my life, and their grannies, of course. So there were 4 people and me in the room. This was my first experience there, and so I came to that school as a substitute teacher, and I just remained, and I have been teaching ever since.
Okay. So, what can help people to find their purpose?
Okay. I believe that one should ask questions about their purpose, not only what I want to do, but also what I don't want to do. For some people, it really works when they say, okay, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, so then probably I want to do something else. So I would use this strategy, either asking yourself what I want, or just asking, okay, what I don't want. This really helps.
Okay, yeah, great. Okay, let's talk a little bit about academy. And you mentioned the role of mentors in your life. What else, like what was in general a role of academy in your life, and maybe what changes it brought in your life?
That's right. So I participated in the Servant Leadership Academy in 2009 in Portland, Oregon, and I lived with Jeff and Coralie Stevens, and they have become my mentors ever since. And of course, it changed my life dramatically for the reason that we had to do the project at the end of the academy. And so I started teaching. That was basically my project. We were told that we have to do something very special, that really what we like in our country. And so I started teaching, And I have been doing that ever since.
Okay. What was the most important for you in general in this program of servant leadership? Maybe, yeah.
The most important is people. And my first professor was Marshall Christensen and Dan Ballas. They came to my university and they were the first people who told me about the servant leadership principles, about the servant leader. That's very important. And then when I came to the academy and lived with Jeff and Coralie, and when I have learned from them, I saw that life can be different. There is something else over there. And when I saw these people and I have started learning from them, so I believe that we have become great friends, not only mentors and students, but just very good friends. And we have created a community. I felt very lonely, to tell you the truth. I couldn't find myself in this world. And when I had that Servant Leadership Academy, I met wonderful people there with values which I had to discover. Before that, I wouldn't know that how to act, what to do in my life. I was lost, I would say. And meeting those people and learning from them really helped me. And so, I have been learning and studying with them.
Great. Okay. And probably the last question. What would you like to tell this year participants of Academy?
Well, never ever stop. Keep going. And during the hard times, during the most difficult times in your life, just keep going and have this hope that everything will be okay, and just look for people, because there are people and people are ready to help. Just look for them and you will find them. Knock and the door will be open.
Okay, great. That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Все. Да, шикарно.
Спасибо.
Дуже класно.
Трошки розслабилась вже під кінець.
Це добре, бачиш?